It is late June, and I, Mark Stewart Greenstein, am wearing my analyst hat. You can get into the thinking of one who's been analyzing government for over 30 years. Yes, that was my major in college. And maybe more important, since college, becoming an adult who really has politics affecting him, I've studied this. I've studied the good and the not so good of the state and federal governments. And the federal governments, I think I know pretty well, okay? I did have some pretty good right-on predictions the last 4 elections. So here's where I'm at now, more than 16 months before the 2020 election. You are in the hands of wild-eyed Democrats. If they convince their nominee to be as wild-eyed as they are, Trump gets reelected. It's that simple. The litmus test is not Trump. Trump's pluses and minuses are baked in, okay? We've known about them for now 4 years. Campaign plus 2.5 years as president. Okay, they're not going to get wildly better, or it's hard to get wildly worse. So you end up with the wild card being, what is the Democrat nominee going to be about? I'm not saying who the nominee is, because the nominee may actually take on a very moderated stance, which might be a winning one. Or a far left, appease that crazed crowd that might have got you the nomination, but then you got to blow them off. Because if you stay far left, you are the George McGovern of this century. You go down in flames. And the Democrat Party will have the ignominy of being the party that lost twice to Donald Trump. Let me give you my overall mindset here. I think this is an election that the Libertarian candidate will have an effect, not in the vote very much, but in the discourse. And I say that because I am convinced that at least 50% of the public and at least 80% of millennials have a libertarian mindset. And they can finally get access to information that's not crowded up by just a few networks, and they look out for the many sources of information. If they care about who's going to be the next president, the libertarian mindset does have a lot of weight. Listen, socially permissive, fiscally conservative. That is the libertarian mindset. Now, our 2 presidential candidates, Democrat and Republican, have never had that combination. You have right, and left, left. One possible exception, we'll get to that later. So this is the year that I do think that libertarian nominee will have an effect on the discourse. Won't have a big effect on the election, and that's because when you have even one disliked candidate, and you might get 2, people vote away from the negative, okay? You see that in state elections where third-party guys run high, but then in the end, on November, the election day, tally low. So decent-looking, influential third parties end up collapsing. Ross Perot did not. There was the one election that I can remember that his numbers held up pretty well. Otherwise, they tend not to. Still, the discourse is probably going to be affected this time. I'm of the opinion, here we go, that the next president will again be Donald Trump. But there's a fighting chance that a Democrat who somewhat moderates will take the mantle. And who might that be? No one who is announced. It can't be, okay? Every one of the 23 announced can't, maybe with the exception of Delaney. 22 out of 23 are so far left. They are George McGovern of this century. And the American middle is not going to buy into that. I predict that there could be a Democrat president, but it will be Somebody who's not in the field yet. Well known, liked, probably wealthy. Think Oprah. Think Jon Stewart. Think Dave Ramsey. He never said a harmful word in his life. Nice, easygoing, helpful Dave Ramsey. That type, latch onto a Democrat nomination that last minute after everyone else has tarnished themselves. That's a winner for the Dems. I look forward to doing this for the next 16 months. I'm Mark Stewart Greenstein. I'm at stewartforliberty.com. Thanks for playing along.